expression.
Okay.
It says company kindly pays dividends of 12 pence, which is expected to grow at 5% per annum. The ex-div share price is 1.75. Now, 12 pence, these are pounds. It means we divide by 100 to get a pound. So it's always
Mm-hmm.
okay. So now, remember the G. There are methods of calculating the growth rate. So there are two models that we use to calculate the growth rate. The first one is the Gordon's growth model. The second one is the historical method. Gordon's growth model and historical method. So these are the methods used to estimate the growth rate. So the first model we shall look at is the Gordon's growth model. So Gordon's growth model says growth rate equals BR. So G is your growth rate that you are looking for. B is the proportion of funds retained, and R is your return on equity. Okay. So proportion of funds retained, we mean when you have paid dividends, how much is left. For example, if dividend was 30%, it means what is remaining is 70%. That's B. 30 minus 100. Then R is return on equity. Return on equity is profit after tax divided by number of shares or divided by total equity. So take note of that. Okay, so we have this simple example. It says the return on equity is 10%, while dividends of 30 has just been paid. Calculate the growth rate, where we're saying we calculate the growth rate. Now what is B? B is what has been retained. So you take 100% minus 30, which is dividends. So it means you're remaining with 70%. Then our return on equity is 10. So growth rate will be 70% times 10. It means that's 7%. So that is according to Gordon's growth. Let's look at a now detailed example like this one, where we should calculate now on our own. So consider the following summarized financial statements for XP PLC. So we have assets and total assets 200. We have equity, total equity is 200 as well. Profit after tax for the end of 31 December 2022 is 20 million. Dividends, a payout of 40%, and which was 8 million. Then we have assets in 2022, and then we have shares as well, or equity, which is 212. If the company's account rate of return and the earnings retention ratio remain the same, the earnings returning ratio, we mean proportion of funds retained. What will be the growth rate in dividends in the next year? Why are they there? They are saying that these will remain the same next year in 2022 because in 2021 they have given us the dividends and have given us the payout ratio. So they said these will remain the same. So it means we don't have to worry about next year because after all, the B retention ratio, the B which is the earnings return, will still be the same, as well as the return on equity will still be the same. So once we calculate for 20x1, we are okay because in 20x2 we are told they will remain the same. Okay, so let's start with calculating B. So B equals 100% minus dividends. We are told that dividends payout is 40%. So we are told here dividends 4% payout, 40% payout. So minus 40%. That gives us 60. It means our B is 60%. Then let's get R, return on equity. So return on equity is calculated as profit after tax. I've just said tax. Some people will call it as the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders. So profit after tax divided by total equity. Total equity times 100%. That's how the formula will be. So let's get it. Because profit after tax, we are told is 20 million. Profit after tax for the year, 20 million. Then you divide 20 million by total equity, which is 200. Remember, I said the R, return on equity, will still be the same even in the next year. So just focus on the first year. So it will be 20 million profit after tax divided by total equity, which is 200. So 20 over 100. So that gives us 10%. You click on percentage plus 10, then now you can find G. So growth rate, you multiply the 2. B multiplied by R. So 6%. It means our growth rate is 6%. Have they understood?
Yes.
Yeah, then you can, that's okay. Let's move on. So that's the Gordon's growth. Now, what are the problems with the Gordon's growth model? The first problem of Gordon's growth is that it relies on accounting profits. So if the profits are long, then you give a wrong result. The assumption that R and B will be constant, you see in the question of just contracted. So the return on equity or return on capital employed, as well as the B, which is earnings retained, will be the constant, which is not the case. Inflation can substantially distort the accounting rate of return if assets are valued on historical cost basis. This is really true. What happens if your assets are lower? You should expect to have a higher return on equity, because return on equity is it divides itself by profits over assets. So if the assets are depreciating, this you should expect this rate to be increasing. But when the assets are appreciating, increasing in value, then the return on equity will be decreasing. The model also assumes that all new finances come from equity. So it assumes that all sources of finance come from equity. That's what it does. So that's a challenge, because you can also finance a company with debt. So those are the problems with Gordon's growth model. Next is the historical method. You can calculate growth rate using historical method, which says G equals square root N DO over DN, then minus 1. Minus 1 is outside the bracket, times 100%. G, that's our growth rate. N, number of past years. D is current dividend. DN is dividends long time ago. I think this formula is given in the exam. Okay, so let's practice this question. A company has paid the following dividends per share for the past 5 years. So there are 10 cents up to 14.5 in the years 20Y0 to 20Y4 respectively. So it says calculate the average annual growth rate. Okay. So this one is very easy in Excel. Remember, in the exam you'll be using your template, Excel template. Your answer booklet has got features of Excel and Word, so you'll be much quicker than using manual. So this is how you do it in Excel. Very simple to do it in Excel. So what you do is this. After I do it, you are going to try it. So you write equals then open brackets. So we have said the formula is DO over DN. DO is the current dividend, alright, the new dividend. In simple terms, the new dividend is this, the last year, the new year, which is 14.5. If it's 2026, it means you pick dividend for 2026. So that's 14.5. That's DO, 14.5 over DN, dividends long time ago. So the oldest dividend, which is 10. So over 10, you put a comma. That's what you do. Then you put 1. Why 1? 1 stands for square root function. So I understand. So 1 over. Now we look at how many years. If you look at this formula, the formula, it says to the power n. This n stands for number of past years. So our question, number of past years, we ignore the current rate, the current year. So we start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the past years. So we have got 4 years, not 5. People will say 5 years. No, we ignore the current year. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So to the power 4. Then 1 over 4. Remember, 1 over 4 means 4th root. Then you close brackets. Enter. What's wrong? This one is not functioning. So 13.5 over 10. How do we do this? Wait, I should stop the video. I should do it again.